The proposed bill seeking to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria's Act No. 7 of 2007 has sparked significant interest and debate within the financial and economic sectors. The amendment seeks to make provision for appointing a board chairman and provide the responsibility to quicken and deepen the execution of the bank's mandate. Analysts say while the bill also seeks to address challenges hindering the advancement of the Apex Bank and limiting its capacity to address economic issues from the monetary policy angle, the proposed amendments raise concerns about the central bank's autonomy and formulating and implementing policies free from political interference. I'm being joined by development economist Professor Ken Ife to talk more about this. Prof, good afternoon and thank you for joining the program.
Oh, hi, good afternoon and thank you for having me.
Prof, let's start with the understanding of this in its entirety, this act that is seeking to be amended by the House. What do you make of it, and what do you think this would imply if this happens?
Well, you know, I've been a regular keynote speaker to joint retreats of central bank directors and governors and National Assembly, the House of Parliament, the House of Rep Committee that oversees financial, central banking, and all these financial institutions. I've been on 2 occasions in their retreat, and I haven't seen any, and there's a cordial relationship there and mutual respect, but I haven't seen any vibes in any of these, 5 years ago and even as late as a few months ago. So I haven't seen any vibes that there is a need, an urgent need, to actually revise CBN Act, because we just have the Buffy Act, the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act of 2020, that is very, very pervasive and has strengthened the independence of central bank and given wider powers and all of that. So we seem to be okay. So I haven't seen or sensed any need from central bank going to government for government bill or going to assembly for members bill, wanting to change the act, the CBN Act. I think the general feeling is that Buffy has done a good job, but to come and change that is another story. The second thing is that, everybody has a right. The members have a right to propose something which they have done, and there are merits to this, and there are very strong threats to CBN independence in some of the provisions. Let me start with the merit. The merit is one, it wants to strengthen the oversight mechanism, which, as I said, is really there in the Buffy Act 2020. It wants to ensure that CBN independence, yes, as it says, but with more transparency and accountability to the National Assembly, to the President, and to the board. Well, that's fine. There are some instruments he wants to use to do that, by appointing a chief financial compliance officer who will be reporting to President, National Assembly, and all of that on a regular quarterly basis. But then it also wants to make sure that there's a greater alignment and coordination of fiscal and monetary policy, and proposes a coordinating committee, which is good because I recommended that 6 years ago to the former minister who wants to implement it and really told me that she's going to do it and employ somebody to do it. Now, but the thing with this is that whilst it is important to strengthen and institutionalize the coordination mechanism between fiscal and monetary policy, institutionalizing it so that it doesn't vanish with new administration, but the powers given to it are contentious. They really cannot do that because the powers that are giving it power, the ultimate power-making body for monetary policy is the Monetary Policy Committee. And its power should not be overridden by any other body, supplementary body. So you couldn't have that power for them to set the targets, and it shouldn't be taken away from them. And secondly, there's an even more contentious one, the power to meddle with the rates being charged for ways and means. That is complete conflict of interest, because the finance is the one that borrows on ways and means, and you cannot come and set your rate. You can't do that. So there are 2 major temptations for that committee to override the power of the Monetary Policy Committee, which is totally unacceptable. And then you also have the thing that they wanted more enforcement, and I really love that. Stricter enforcement with fines and penalties at personal level, which is in the proposed amendment of the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007. So I love that amendment to where you can hold individuals liable with fines and then imprisonment. So that they can no longer say, I was directed to steal what? To steal public money. So that is a very good provision. And then also, they wanted to also use that to establish some institutional barriers. But having said that, there are 4 major independence of central bank that should not really be tampered with. One is a functional independence. And that means it should be free to deal with price stability, to deal with financial system stability. Nobody's complaining about that because the ratios are okay. The loan non-repayment loan ratio, the APL is okay, 5%. The capital adequacy ratio is okay at 15%. So nobody worries about financial system stability. So it's in the price stability that they need to use the instruments. So you should not detract from their power to use those instruments as vested in the Monetary Policy Committee. Then, of course, other concerns are budget control. Why do we want to emasculate the financial independence of the central bank? By subjecting it to budgetary control. It has enough safeguards there. They do their budget, the board approves it, it goes to the president approves it, and you have monitoring framework. The assembly has committees that come and have a look, and then they get their return. You now want chief financial officer to be giving you quarterly return. That's fine. But please, I don't see the need for you to have a separate office of governor of central bank and then bring in a new chairman. So you now create 2 captains in the ship, and then you now have politics take control. So you're no longer talking about politicizing the office, the head office of the office of the CBN, but you're also bringing in, interjecting political control of the National Assembly. So we are now going to move the marketplace to the central bank headquarters. And I mean, honestly, we're going to have to rethink that.
Prof, that's really a good breakdown, I must say, because I want you to speak around the fiscal, having the chair, the joint committee that will look into ways and means. That's also something that they seeks to address. What do you make of that?
No, the joint committee, as I've said, I have nothing wrong with it, but I have everything wrong with the powers that are given to the committee. Okay. We need coordination. In 2016, the country went into recession, and I was fighting, and I was writing to the minister then, and then she wasn't going to listen. And then you had CBN that was not talking to the fiscal authority. But then later, after the recession from 2019, the new minister started some kind of coordination. And then now we have the optimum coordination between Ministry of Fiscal and Monetary Authority with these the current minister and the CBN governor. But as I said, it is good to institutionalize that. So, and then what I suggested to the former minister 6 years ago was have your own fiscal committee, policy committee, and then once in a year, the fiscal and the monetary will meet and have a single agenda on harmonization. That was what I recommended to her. And then she was happy with that. So if you want to make it a formal committee, a joint one, that's fine. But don't delegate powers to it that will run counter to the independence, the functional and institutional dependence of central bank. And with the Monetary Policy Committee, the apex policy-making body, you shouldn't tamper with that. So that was what I was honestly against. And then, of course, the whole issue of having 2 captains on the ship is just not going to work. It's not, because you so heavily politicize. Now, decisions in the central banking ought to be swift. If you want to close a bank down, you found some infraction, you're going to close it down within an hour or 2. You're going to have to go for control, for approval here, approval there, information leaks, everything. I mean, it's going to be chaos at the helm of our affairs. And then you send strong negative signals to the market, to the financial community, to investors. And you can control that. You cannot control that. But you can control. President should have the power to remove his governor of central bank if he doesn't feel he's doing the job. But not to create 2 captains on that boat and then the whole country suffers. All the investor community, banking community, all of them, nobody knows what is going on. And everything, that becomes the center of politics.
Prof, thanks. You're educating us, of course, Nigerians, about this issue for us to understand more of this. So the role of the chief compliance officer is also what some people have talked about Have you touched on that in your submission?
No, I did. I've talked about that. And I emphasized the case of, financial independence and
yes.
prudential supervision. Now, Central Bank has adopted risk-based supervision. And because some of that risk affects NDIC, they are now doing joint risk-based supervision, so which is good. So and it's good show of collaboration. So we'll keep it that, and don't go too far to say that you are going to allow NDIC to start licensing. No, it's fine. We'll keep it there. If you say you want to bring in a chief compliance officer who continues to look at your targets in your development plan and other targets given to you or agreed with the government, fine. If you want to do that, and then sends this report to President and National Assembly and the board, that's fine. Nobody says you should do that. It's an additional safeguard. But you don't bring safeguard by creating two captains in the ship and then by taking away the power that makes this institution independent and then emasculating their budget and maybe start introducing constituency budget into the central banking system. Think about that.
So the hearing is supposed to be on Thursday. What more do you think Nigerians need to know ahead of this date?
No, I've sent my submission, and my submission can be made public. It's public already anyway, with the National Assembly, with the Senate. So that is, I have amplified all my views as a honest broker, as an independent financial consultant, and so on, who is involved with both sides of the aisle, and who also talks a lot on public policy and development economics. So I understand this because I train all of them. So I understand this very well, and I know the ramification. And I also train Accountant General's office, Budget Office on fiscal responsibility, Ministry of Finance. I train them. I understand what happens inside and where you are going with this.
I must thank you so much, Professor Kenife. It's always nice having you on the program, Development Economist. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.